Everybody is really busy Monday morning quarterbacking all the lies Trump told yesterday, and I need you to onboard a fact unrelated to the Trump spouting bullshit. Trump swallowers will swallow any line of bullshit that man tells. Anytime he pivots or reverses his answers, they will let him slide with whatever excuse comes up. What they got out of last night's speech is Trump is doing everything he can. It's the liberals who are fucking it up, and trans people are to blame for everything. They are never going to pivot their position. There is no fact, there is no whiteboard, there is no meme, there is no internet trend that you could use that's going to convince them to change their minds. They're not interested in facts, they're not interested in figures. They're kind of interested in feelings, but even then, we've seen it. Ask any of them about the price of eggs. Day one, price of eggs will be at 1950s levels. What are they saying now? Well, you gotta give them time. You gotta give them at least 2 to 3 years. It's hard. I mean, yes, he has the House and he has the Senate and he's the president. Elon does what he wants, but you can't just change things overnight. Look at the coal miners, who Trump assured were all going to be back to their glory 1960s, 1970s days. They were going to be making money, their towns were going to come back, everybody was going to start burning coal, life was going to be miraculous. And then we produced less coal. And they still voted for him again. Twice. Despite the fact that they have no jobs. They are in a worse financial position than they were. They are not interested in the truth. And even if they were, they are so insulated by the Christian bullshit and the right-wing media and just honestly peer pressure. Even if their little brains decide to be like, that seems wrong. I was told I was going to be living like a white king right now, but grandma's living in the living room. I haven't have a job. We don't have no benefits. We're about to lose our homes. Food's triple the price. School doesn't exist anymore. Even if it all dawns on them, they will never say it out loud to their dying breath. They are a forever Trump guy. You really have to consider that it is cult mentality with a sprinkling of Christian bullshit, that promise of your suffering here will be worth it there. Centuries of them being trained by organized religion that it is their jobs to suffer here. Because, in heaven they'll live like 1%ers, so don't rip 1%ers down in real life. Wait until heaven, and then it'll all be equal? Because in heaven, the 1%ers are definitely going to want to play dodgeball with you. You're talking about people who are in a cult. They are not interested in facts. They have been so highly programmed. Unless you're going to sit these individuals down for everyday deprogramming, you're not going to sway their hearts and minds. Even people who leave cults, some part of their brain is always still slightly convinced, maybe. It's not that we shouldn't keep going and spreading the truth, but this belief you have that you're going to sway them. You cannot force somebody into rehab who doesn't want to go. You can force them into the building. You cannot make them become a non-addict if their brain is screaming at them, I need you to be an addict right now. They are stubborn. They don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be embarrassed. One of the very few things they've had historically is pride. They're not interested in letting you rip that down. They would rather be living in boxes on the side of the road, freezing to death with nothing, than being like, maybe I shouldn't have voted for him. There is no graphic that you could present to them that is going to convince them otherwise. As a matter of fact, the more you kind of try to hammer at them how misguided they are, how wrong they were, how they've been deceived, the more they are going to hunker down and just not accept any information at all. You can't save everybody. You cannot make people listen to reason. You cannot get people to, stop being addicted if they're not ready. You cannot make a cult leader leave a cult until they, for some reason, realize they're in a cult. You can be there when they wake up, but the more you try to force it, the more resistance they'll have to whatever it is you're trying. It's not that we don't appreciate what you guys are trying to do, but you need to be a bit more aware of who you're trying to message to. Look at who they are historically. You're talking about a group of people who, in some areas, replay the Civil War. Where they lost, they're not quite willing to admit they lost, but they'll dress up and replay their lost battles every other weekend. That's like going to Applebee's every other weekend and having somebody who kind of looks like your ex loudly and embarrassingly break up with you every other weekend, but keep going back for the feeling and the glory of it, because Todd and I are still totally together despite that breakup. Things are going to get much harder. Be wise where you spend your energy, but also start to read books written by people who have helped deprogram cult members, people who have left, like cult/religious order. They could be staring at billboards of simplified information that shows them the way to the truth. Until they are ready to see it, they are not going to. At a certain point, you have to kind of admit, like, when they want to, we'll be here for them, but I cannot expend this much energy on you anymore. I need to focus on survival. And frankly, that's what's going to be happening in the next few years, is survival. For months we've been telling people, buy beans, buy lentils, buy rice, stockpile dry goods ethically. Please don't clear out Costco. But we're not going to get ahead of this, but at least you can put a little buffer in. Put your energy into researching, recipes, gardening, community gardens, how to volunteer at a local farm in order to, reduce the cost of some produce for yourself. Focus your energy on you and your community, people who are willing to listen, people who are willing to participate. If somebody's interested in drowning, you can't stop them from trying to sink. If they decide to ask for help, be there. Don't gloat, but start to recognize that they don't want to listen. They're not going to listen. They are way too deep into the cults to hear you. And making fun of them, we all kind of take a little poke at them, but really making fun of them only drives them deeper. What you saw last night was a buffoon spouting straight lies, and a room full of 1%ers who either wildly agreed or wildly disagreed with him. What they saw was their God on high, reassuring them that they are the chosen ones, that this temporary pain will be forever worth it, that just hold out long enough and you will be the exalted ones. That's what they voted for. They were told by Trump, all you have to do is flip that little lever and I will make you just like the 1%. And now they're less like the 1% than ever, literally losing their farms, losing their jobs, losing their benefits, and still defending him, because they're still sure somehow they're going to end up top of the pile and we'll end up at the bottom. Even if you tuned into the same channel last night, you all didn't see the same speech. Half the country saw their beloved hero, and half the country saw the man who's probably going to reside over the end of our country. You're not going to change their minds. You're just not. Use your energy wisely. Save yourself first. It's the first rule of one hand for the boat, one hand for you. Put your mask on first, then put on somebody else's mask. It's time for you to put on your mask. And it sucks because you care and you want to help and you want to be a resource and you want to show them the light, but at a certain point you have to admit they're not interested in the truth. They're not interested in the light. They are very comfortably seated in the lies and the deception, and they will violently fight against you if you try to drag them out into the light.